Hey everybody, this is Sean, and you're watching the video entitled My Beliefs on my pagan channel. First off, I would like to say that I have been studying this path for about 10 years. From the ages of 10 to 14 is when I just started to read on it, look up the basics and all that stuff, such as meditation, grounding, and all that stuff. I started to look into the belief structures as well, starting out with shamanism, mostly Native American based, and then branching out to neo-shamanism. From there I went into Wicca and witchcraft, and a little bit of Italian witchcraft, specifically called Stricheria. I have an entire book on that. From there, around age 12, I started to look into more Eastern religious belief structures, such as Shinto Buddhism, Taoism, Buddhism in general, and I looked to that. When I was 14 is when I started to build my support group, my own support system for following this path, because when I was around 14, I moved from my hometown of Frederick, Maryland, and I moved up into the Thurmont-Emmitsburg area, farther up north, more up into the mountains, and a lot more farmland, and pretty decent distance away from where I used to live. Sorry I look so groggy. This is like take 5. It's like 12:20 in the morning here in Korea, so bear with me. When I moved to the Thurmont-Emmitsburg area, I expected to be surrounded by nothing but Christians, and not just any kind of Christians, but the Bible-beating, hard as nails, you follow Christ or else you're going to be going to hell kind of Christians. But somehow, some way, in this little mountain area of a town, there were some of the most accepting, loving, and kind people that I've ever met. I haven't had people like this in a long time. I would have to say that my time living in Frederick, where it was bigger and there were a lot more people, there weren't nearly as many people who were this kind as there were in this much smaller, much more rural area. And I'm glad that I ended up moving out to there. It changed my life in a very positive way, because that's where most of my pagan friends actually lived. Some of them have gone off to college, so they're all across the country. Which, hope you guys are having fun at college. If you ever see this video, just shoot me a comment saying hey. Sorry, I get distracted rather easily sometimes. But this little town is where I found my support system, my support group, and the group of people where I could come to if I ever had a problem spiritually, if I needed a question answered, or if I had an issue with anything. And that was something that I was really, really glad to have, because not many people have that. But yeah, moving on, I'm going to go ahead and just get right onto it. I do believe that there is one source. I believe it is a consciousness that we are all a part of, that we all come from. Sorry, my Windows Movie Maker's being a pain in my ass. I'm still learning how to use it, and it's freezing up on me every now and then, so bear with me again. But I do believe that there is let's get that more centered, source at the top. And then branching off from source is the masculine and the feminine. Now, this is kind of the same belief structure that another pagan YouTuber whose channel is Charlie Says Go, which I'm going off on a tangent on this. One of the best pagan channels I've ever watched. She's an amazing pagan YouTuber. She has amazing ideas, and I personally believe that she is an amazing person. That, from what I've seen through her videos, she is very, very well educated on her craft and on her practice, and it's in a sense she's kind of been a teacher to me through her videos. She's influenced me a lot. Her and Charming Pixie Flora and Flora Peterson, two different channels, same person, just two separate channels. Which these channels will be posted in the link below, because I do believe that if I mention the channel specifically, I should promote it and put it in my video. So I will put those three channels on there, as well as Our Pagan Perspective and Our Pagan Opinions are another two channels, amazing channels, especially for other beginners to the craft to go to and look up for more information. If you don't necessarily agree with my ideas, I'm sure you'll find someone on either Pagan Perspective or Our Pagan Opinions who has relatively similar ideas to you. So again, those two, as well as the other three channels that I mentioned, are going to be posted in links below. But yes, the best way that I would have to say to word my own beliefs in Source is the same way that Charlie believes in it, is a prime factorial tree. Whereas there's Source, and then coming from Source is masculine and feminine, and then from masculine and feminine branch off all the deities from all the pantheons in their respective way. And this is where it begins to differ for me and Charlie. If I remember correctly from one of Charlie's videos on deity, and I believe it's on either Our Pagan Perspective or her own personal channel, she talks about how deities are more along the lines of thought forms and archetypes. I believe that deities, in my personal opinion, are more along the lines of actual conscious beings, that they just live on a different plane of existence, either in the lower world or the upper world, which is where they would resonate with. I'll talk about those, the upper and lower middle worlds later on in the video. But as of now, upper and lower world is where the deities reside, and the middle world is where they can come together to talk to us on a separate plane of existence that is parallel to our own. Following that up, I might as well talk about the three different planes of existence. Sorry, I have notes and just little bullets and stuff to talk about, which are over here. Wrong set of notes. But going off of the deities aspect, I'll get to the worlds in a bit. Just I want to go over my personal beliefs with working with deities. I have only recently started to work with deities, the past 3 or 4 months. I believe that it is best to work with a patron and patroness, two deities that my patron being a masculine deity that I hold in higher regard than most other deities that I work with more often, that I pray to more often, and that I receive guidance from more often, as well as a patroness, which is the feminine aspect of myself, that I receive again, the same thing that what my patron would give me, which is guidance, blessings, and protection. My patron is Anubis. He is the protector of lost souls, the god of the dead. He is the god who speaks on behalf of the dead in the Hall of Two Truths, which, if you look up Egyptian mythology, the Hall of Two Truths is where your heart is weighed against the feather of Mot, to see whether or not you can go through into paradise, or if your heart gets devoured by the devourer of meat. If you guys have any questions on that, just put it in the comments and I'll explain it as best as I can. He is also associated with death, but he was originally the god of death, but when Osiris, who was an important deity in the Egyptian pantheon, which is what I work with mostly right now, Osiris was killed by his brother Set. To make a long story short, he was chopped into pieces after he was killed, tossed around all of Egypt. Isis, his wife, Nefet, his sister and wife of Set, and Anubis, who was his bastard child by Nephit, his brother's wife, got together, found the pieces of Osiris, put them back together, and mummified her, which is where Anubis ties into mummification. He is the patron deity of mummification and the embalming process. And the only thing that they couldn't find of Osiris was his phallus, which unfortunately means that he could not be fully alive. So what happened was that he took over the domain of the underworld from Anubis, but it wasn't a hostile takeover. It was kind of just a shift in position. Now, as Anubis, instead of being the god of the dead, he just became the protector of the dead on their journey to the Hall of Two Truths. My patroness is Bastet. She is known as the Lady of the East due to the fact that she protected her father Ra on his travels through the underworld, going through the 12 gates of the underworld until the next day came along. Some of you don't know, but Ra is a solar deity. He's associated with the sun. In some cases, he is considered the incarnation of the sun. And what happens is that whenever the sun rises in the east, it means that Ra has gone through the underworld, the 12 gates of the underworld, which are the 12 hours of night. He's gone through that gate, and he's come back up due to the protection of his daughter Bast. Hence the name she gets called the Lady of the East. I can go into more explanation about that particular myth in another video, but again, that's another video for another time. She's also known as a protector of the home. Cats were considered to be able to hold a certain level of ability to protect people in their home. And she is also, of course, a solar deity, because her father is pretty much the incarnation of the sun, but she is also considered to have a lunar influence as well, due to the fact that she is also associated with the all-seeing eye, which is able to see through all illusions and all darkness, and hence the reason why she's able to be considered as much of a lunar deity as a solar deity. There are more aspects of both Anubis and Bast, but again, this is just a small brief overview on my own personal beliefs in them. Moving on to the planes of existence. I believe in 3 specific planes. I have the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. And I have this awesome little ring that I got here while I was in Korea, and it's actually technically 3 rings that are put together in a single ring, and they move around and everything. It's so cool. It does an awesome job of illustrating the structure that I believe in. This is a representation of the worlds, so that way I don't cover up my face. The top ring, this one right here, is a representation of the upper world, where highly refined vibrational energy exists, as well as beings of intellect and guidance for the mental aspect of the human being exists. The middle world is more along the lines of the world of physical existence, as well as where elemental spirits such as salamanders, sylphs, nymphs, naiads, and dryads, and all those things exist on this plane of existence, just parallel to us that we can't see normally. And the lower world, which is the bottom ring, is where our primal emotions and instincts originate from, as well as where most of my journey work occurs. I'm not really called to work with the upper world just yet. I'm mostly working on my own lower world experiences and working on my own emotional aspect of myself, as opposed to working on the more mental, higher vibrational aspect of myself. That's my personal beliefs in the planes of existence. And moving on to the structures of the human, again, the same way that I illustrated the existence with the ring, on how the 3 different worlds coexist, how each one was intertwined with each other. I also believe that the 3 parts of a human being are just as much intertwined. The 3 parts of a human being, in my personal beliefs, is the mind, the body, and the soul, or the spirit. the mind being related to more higher vibrational energies, receiving higher vibrational energy and messages from the upper world. The physical body being a manifestation of ourselves in this world, the way that we want to exist, and the soul being the representation of our own inner selves, our emotional and instinctual and primal aspect. In the way that a human being can attain happiness, again in my personal opinion, is finding that balance between the mental, spiritual, and physical worlds, and finding that balance within themselves as well, being spiritually fulfilled, being mentally fulfilled, and being physically fulfilled. And the way that I do that is I do go to school part-time to fulfill that mental aspect of myself. And it's not just going to school, but also reading up on things, on topics that I want to learn about. That's something, the way that I fulfill myself mentally. Physically, the way that I fulfill myself physically, I exercise. I try to keep myself as healthy as possible. I also eat healthier than I used to. I used to be a terrible eater when I was a kid. That was because between the ages of 16 and 18 I worked at McDonald's, and that was not the best place to be if you wanted to eat healthy. So, but recently I've been working on being healthy, eating a lot more fruits and veggies, more lean meats. I've already discussed this in my previous video, and I'm just reiterating it. That's the way that I keep my physical self fulfilled, and by just fulfilling the spiritual part of myself, though, is a little bit harder, because it does require a little bit more time and patience that I should dedicate to my craft. And doing these videos is one way that I spiritually fulfill myself, because I put out that information, and that's the things that I believe need to be put out there. And I want to. And another thing that helps me fulfill myself spiritually is helping other people to learn, and showing other people my own personal ideas, and asking them, this is what I believe, what do you believe? And that kind of a thing. Just helping other people realize their own spiritual beliefs. That's something that I like. That helps me feel fulfilled spiritually. When people ask me questions, I do not hesitate to answer, but I don't give the answer straight out. I'm more along the lines of be like, okay, what is your belief? And I just kind of turn the question around on them. Sometimes I get a little bit pissy about that. But if they want to, my personal opinion is that if someone wants to grow spiritually, they need to search out knowledge for themselves first before asking me. And if I say, have you looked into it yourself? And if you have, what have you discovered? And tell me what it is, and then I'll tell you what I can give you to help you better understand that, if that makes sense. Again, it's starting to turn out to be a little catchphrase, if that makes sense. Reincarnation. I do believe in reincarnation. I believe that reincarnation works in a different way than some other people do. I believe that reincarnation is when our physical body dies, our mental and spiritual self goes back to source in a sort of place where paradise or the Summerland, or it goes by different names, but I just consider it paradise. I just call it that because it's something that resonates with me. Our soul goes to paradise, and we experience paradise for a while after living so long on this plane of existence. And then from there, once we are tired or bored with living in paradise, we find something that is worth living for. As in, like, if you wanted to find out how it is to live in poverty, and your spiritual soul, while it's in Summerland, says, I want to know what it's like, not conceptually, but experientially, how it is to live in poverty. That's the way that you would reincarnate yourself. I believe that when we are in the afterlife, we still retain our consciousness. In fact, I think that we gain back our whole consciousness of when we were in that past life, in that Summerland, and we gain all the experiences from our past life. But when we reincarnate, we only choose to experience that lifetime. We don't bring with us the experience of the past because we want to experience something different, something that we haven't experienced before. If that makes sense. It's starting to turn out to be a catchphrase of mine, if that makes sense. I'm going to start tagging that. That's my own personal beliefs on reincarnation. And when we pass on, I believe that mourning for the dead is not necessary, because the spiritual self has said it's my time to move on, so I've moved on. And that's the reason why it is very, very hard for me to... It's the last funeral that I actually cried at, like really cried at, was my friend Billy Bowen's funeral when I was 14. Actually, when I was 13. And it was really, really, really sad. I didn't think that it was his time to go. But that was me, not what Billy's spiritual self thought. So, my personal opinion. Again, it's been a long time since I've cried at a funeral, because I don't feel like I need to mourn for the person who's dead, but I need to be there for the people who the dead have left behind. And it's not me being cold, but it was that person's time to move on. And for someone's spiritual self to say, hey, it's my time to move on, don't worry about me, I know where I'm going, I'll be fine. You still have so much more to experience. Don't mourn me, live your life. That's my own personal opinion. And that's exactly what I'm going to tell the people. That's exactly what I'm going to tell people while I'm on my deathbed. Don't mourn for me, live your own life. Don't mourn for me, but celebrate my life. And that's the kind of way that I've lived when it comes to people dying. I don't mourn them, I celebrate the way that they lived. I don't mourn how they died. And can't believe I ended on such a morbid topic, but this video is starting to get extremely long, and it's going to be a long time before it's uploaded into YouTube. It's going to take a while. So I'm going to end this video here. I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video. Again, if you have any questions, or if you want me to expand on something, more on my own personal beliefs, just leave a comment, put it in the comment section below, send me a message through Facebook if you ever find me on Facebook, or make a video response. I would love to see a video response from people. Video responses would be very interesting to watch, because I actually can put a face to the name and what the question is. It would be very nice. So, yeah, that's about it. Alright, so, hope you guys have a good morning, afternoon, night, or wherever you are from across the globe. Just many blessings, and blessed be.